A brand new feature focus has just come out for Jurassic World Evolution 3, this time focused on how we use terrain tools to build out the landscapes of our park. Let's dig into it. Eh? Dig? Oh god. We start with our very first look at an adult Stegosaurus, back with that fixed up high slung tail. There's an interesting little detail here as well though. The parent and juvenile pair over here are contained on a very steep embankment, steeper than anything we've seen a dinosaur climb up in the past. I wonder how much they've adapted the kinematics, that's the sort of the foot movement, the leg movement of the dinosaurs, to account for this increased ability to make steeper hills, steeper ledges. Will we know exactly how steep a hill has to be to prevent a dinosaur climbing up it? On the right hand side we get another glimpse at a running waterfall. It looks a little odd here in this lighting, but the exciting thing is it's spilling down over several layers that are joined together, suggesting we can build these sort of step design waterfalls in our parks. We're going to see these a little bit more in just a moment, and whew, they are beautiful. A small note on the terrain in this next shot, you can see they've got a more layered terrain system, similar, I imagine, to games like Prehistoric Kingdom. The snow here actively looks to sit on a level below the rock, falling naturally into crevices and leaving realistic gaps where those bigger stones pop up amongst the snow. This sort of terrain layering makes blending various terrains so much easier, but also makes it much more realistic. After a very pretty shot of our Maltese park, which I've scoured for about an hour trying to find something new, we move over to this multi-level rocky tropical environment. The level of variation we're afforded here is absolutely incredible compared to Evolution 2. But I want to point out a really nice little thing. This hotel down here, sitting in the water atop a rushing waterfall. Already very cool. And initially it looks disconnected, but if you really look in here you can just about make out this thin trail of grass. And of course the other week we saw we're going to get a new grass textured path, allowing us to add buildings like this and also the zip line nearby that look like they're not attached to the park at all. Really good for making these sort of naturalistic sort of builds. I'm going to say that word a lot today, believe me. Next we start off with a fairly boring Rex exhibit to kick things off, but we're going to change that by building a gigantic cone of dirt. Honestly, this feels like them just showing off how much steeper hills can be now, and you know what? Fair play. If you want to make cones of Dunshire come to life in a hideous park, then more power to you. Of course, you could build up like this and then flatten at the top and start to work on the terrain. Again, huge advancement in the terrain tech. Digging sharply up as we saw, or down even more so, auto-populates the area with rocks. Said this before, but there doesn't seem to be a toggle option here. It could be in the options somewhere, but I think it's probably an automated process. But it's very cool how dynamic it is. And hey, there's proof here with how steep this embankment is that we'll be able to finally build the Jurassic Park T-Rex exhibit. The sharpness of the ramp is very exciting, because the ramps in general are really exciting and seem very adaptable. And a lot of the foliage painting is stuff we've seen before, but this might be our best look yet at the full breadth of gameplay tools we're going to have here when placing items. We've got align to surface, we've got angle snap, and we've got gizmo cycling, which we'll come back to in just a second. There's also a handy pop-up in the top right that seems like it's probably going to provide the hotkeys, etc. needed to use all of this. So you won't need to keep in mind every single button combination to do the various different things. Being able to paint in varied forests and environments with these new bucket systems we've got, and then individually place from this huge selection of foliage, should satisfy both camps. You can be relaxed or super not relaxed, basically. Very soon after this is what I assume is the gizmo cycling. You can see that the only option available to the player right now is scaling via this blue circle. And there's also one just down here at the bottom for XYZ movement, and there's another one for rotation. Basically, if you're trying to do one of those tasks specifically and don't want to accidentally do something else, you can flip through the gizmos so that only that task is available. It might be that you can only ever do one task per gizmo and there's not a multi-tool gizmo. We'll have to wait and see. Planet Zoo handles things basically the same way. Next, we get our best look yet at the deep water tool in action. It's still cutting into the terrain. You can see here it kind of lowers the terrain a little bit around it and seemingly avoids a very steep bit of cliff or maybe a bit of decoration to the sort of lower right. But I like a lot how it modifies the terrain colour. It actively paints in gravel and clay in this very natural sort, I can't think of another word, in this very natural sort of way. There's clearly some randomization going on here meant to make it look organic. It also adds these gradual sloped edges at the very side to allow your dinosaurs in and out. I suspect this means we don't need to use shallow water to kind of counterbalance the deep water and allow our dinosaurs to use it. You could just paint with deep water, I suspect. The waterfall system really is impressive. The way it naturally carves through the terrain with a simple button press it's pretty incredible. And I think this is a much better way of handling the system than a placeable, finicky object. And they seem really adaptable as well. These first ones we're seeing are quite curved. They've been placed on a sort of gradual hill, but the ones behind the Spinosaurus in this shot look a lot steeper. And hopefully that means no limitation on the steepness of hill we can turn into a waterfall. I've got to imagine they at least partially had the Jurassic Park waterfall in mind when designing this, so I would hope we can get to near enough pure verticality. Most of the rest of the video is just beautiful shots of naturalistic parks, but a brief nod here to the sexual dimorphism of the Stegosaurus. Now, I can't really make out a morphological difference here. You would maybe suggest the one on the left is a little bit less bulky, but you can make out the difference in the patterning. This crescent moon shape on the plates of the one on the left and the new pattern on the one on the right, these jagged lines reminiscent of sound wave generators and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool pattern. There's also some light dappling on the scales around the front of the body in particular, which I think is probably added by the patterning as well. I'm just going to let this play, just listen to this for a second.
Enclosures and spectacular sights within your parks. Be sure to watch the rest of our modules for further training.
These waterfalls, and even more so the sound of rushing water, it's really nice. And I love seeing both these low slung shallow variants and these gigantic steep and roaring ones. They're definitely the big new feature of the terrain tools, but there's a lot to love here. And this is really the part of the game I'm personally most excited about, even more so than the juveniles and the modular building. Building naturalistic parks has always been my jam. You know, I'm going all the way back to botanical gardens, and it's going to be time for Botanical Gardens Redux, let me tell you. It's going to be easier and better than ever with Evolution 3. So no big revelations today, but lots of lovely little details. Great look at the waterfalls, a little bit of Stegosaurus action, a little bit of Spinosaurus action. Who doesn't love that, eh? It's like an Isla Sorna reunion. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what you think about these terrain tool adaptations for Jurassic World Evolution 3. Throw me a like down below if you enjoyed the video. Stick around for all the latest in Jurassic World Evolution 3, JWE 3 in general, and I will see you lovely folks very, very soon. Thanks for joining me. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.
Road.